Hi everybody, welcome to my homestead and welcome to my channel. My name is Jared. It has been a while since I've done a video like this. I felt like doing it. I need to go put the chickens in actually. That's why I'm out here. And I was just like, you know what? I should do a video. It's been a while. There's one of our cats. Jenica is with one of our girls. They're downtown at this pharmacy where they have like a I don't know what you call it, a soda bar, or just like a little kind of cafe thing where you can go and drink soda, have some snacks while you're waiting for your prescription to be filled. I want to talk about just kind of like the time that we're living in right now, just give my general thoughts, because it feels like things are just getting really to the end. You know, like it's almost 0 hour. Here's my nice pile of sticks from all the branches and stuff that fell off of these trees. This tree is dying. And once we have the money, we're just going to have it all taken down and just brought down just to a stump. Then we have those trees over there that are fine, but that middle tree was dropping a bunch of branches. First on one side and then on the other side. Had to get the chainsaw out. And here it all is. Here's all the branches. All the sticks that we're going to use for fires. So we usually have fires like right here in this area because we have that fire pit right there. We'll just bring it over here, have fires. Probably going to be doing more because it's starting to get cool outside. And then let's walk over here to the chicken coop. They're probably not in yet, but they could be. I don't know. It's usually my youngest daughter. It's actually her chore to put the chickens in every night. And it looks like they're in. Except for you. No, don't come over here. It's time to go to bed. Go. You guys, there's nothing to see. You know why I'm here. It's time to go inside. Go. 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 Yep. Yep. You too. You too. That's a lavender Orpington. She's one of our favorites. Okay. There we go. So anyway, you know, I know we've talked about it a million times, but I'm just thinking about this last general conference. You know, how it started. Talking about the last wagon. And potentially Elder Bednar's talk. Maybe being selected to be the first talk because that would be like the main theme of the conference, or one of the main themes, right? We may be at that point where everybody really needs to make their decisions. And I think there's reason to believe that because April 2019 General Conference, President Nelson's talk called Come Follow Me, he gave the warning that time is running out. So, and we're almost 5 years past that time. So if that's when he gave the warning about 5 years ago, and then this last general conference, you know, is talking about rescue teams and the last wagon, we might be there. But beyond that, just the fact that we have this war, this very unusual war that's broke out in Israel. Is that on? What the heck? It's been cold lately. I don't think it's gotten down to freezing, but I'm just going to disconnect this anyway. I'd rather be safe than sorry. So, anyway, there's this unusual war that's broken out. There's so many people talking about it. There's things that are happening that haven't happened before. In fact, I don't know if you saw the news, but I think it was today that I first heard about Netanyahu saying what they're going to do with Gaza afterwards. And the news is that the plan right now is that once the war is over, Israel's going to be responsible for Gaza's security going forward. And the word indefinitely was used. I got to take that step and then nail it back into place right here. This whole place is falling apart. You know, we're trying to maintain it, but there's like a lot of things that need to be fixed and whatever. So it's just never-ending projects. So if that's the case, you know, that's going to, that's going to be unprecedented if they like remain there. I know that Biden and probably whoever else, they warned Israel to not occupy Gaza, but it may not even get to that point in the first place, because there may be more escalation that takes place. This may be the final war. But anyway, you have this war that broke out a week after this last General Conference. The General Conference about the last wagon. It's the only General Conference during President Nelson's time that he's only spoken once. And it was a recorded message because of his back. And he was sitting down. And I don't know. It just feels like we're really getting to that point. I think that's what we're seeing. I think that's what's happening right now. We'll just have to wait and see. By the way, I sold my cows, or, you know, we sold our cows, me and Jenica's cows. We had 2 steers, and they weren't really growing the way that we wanted them to. They weren't really putting on weight. Yes, we dewormed them and did all the stuff, but they just weren't very big. Plus, one of them was like a double dairy cross, Holstein and Jersey, so he wasn't going to be worth much anyway. So we sold him, and we broke even. Every time that we've raised any cows, we've always made at least some profit. With these guys, no, but we didn't go in the hole. So that was good. And they've been gone for a while. And I need to, between now and spring, get a new ride mower so that I can get all this stuff, like get everything prepared for the next year, because we're going to be getting some calves, some bottle calves, and raise them. Wait till they get to about, I think, like 500 pounds and then sell them. And just basically just have like a calf operation. Just make a little extra money. But I haven't had a working riding mower this whole season, practically, just like the first couple months, and then it broke down, and I went through all the troubleshooting. I had a guy in my ward who, you know, he's good with that kind of stuff. He looked at it, he wasn't able to fix it, so I guess we're just going to junk it, or maybe try and sell it to somebody who wants to try and fix it. I'm not sure yet, but we're going to have to get a new one. And then I have to do the entire pasture. Goes around that way, wraps around this building, and then over to the back. It's a really nice night. So anyway, you have all these things going on. You know, the war in Russia is still taking place. And now it's taking place at the same time that this war in Israel is taking place. And there's been talk, you know, I've seen increased talk of China wanting to move forward with their plans to take Taiwan. I feel like that's unlikely. I feel like it's hard to picture that, but that's how I felt about the invasion of Ukraine. And then when it came to Israel, before the war started, I kind of felt like, well, I don't know if there are going to be any major things going on with Israel. Everything seemed to be going in the right direction. And like I've said in other videos, I've heard people talk about Hamas and be like, oh no, they're not interested. And it was earlier this year when Palestinian Islamic Jihad was firing off rockets. And analysts were like, no, they wouldn't join in because, they want to hold on to their power in the Gaza Strip. They're more interested in maintaining power and whatever. So they wouldn't risk doing that. And that ended up being completely wrong. They were 100% wrong. They decided to go all out. And by surprise. They took Israel by surprise. And of course, there's arguments that can be made. When things like this happen, is it really a surprise? Or did certain people know about it and they wanted that to happen? It's hard to tell. When it comes to secret combinations or when it comes to intelligence and stuff like that, things get murky, and who knows who actually knew what and who wanted what to happen. But anyway, it happened. And on Hamas's part, I can't imagine that they would have done what they did without talking to the rest of the quote-unquote resistance, the Iranian-backed resistance, knowing about it. It's like when I was talking to Rabbi Gerfein. I guess, he was in agreement with me that basically, when you have things like this going on, you have pawns. And it seems like that's what Hamas and the Gaza Strip has been in this conflict, a pawn. And so you have to wonder, what's the end game? Who's trying to do what? You might say, well, Iran wants Israel destroyed. So maybe that's it. But maybe it goes beyond that. Maybe it goes all the way to Russia and China and their goals, and all of them forming an alliance so that they can all achieve what they want to achieve. I don't know. I don't really know, but it doesn't make sense to me that Hamas would have acted alone, independently. It took a lot of preparation, a lot of planning. So I can't imagine that they did that, because they would have known that they were basically signing their own death warrants. And that's exactly what's taking place right now. What was accomplished? What do they get out of it? Well, I don't think that they by themselves are getting anything out of it. I don't think that they're just suicidal for no reason. So that leads me to believe that there's something bigger at play, and I just don't know what that thing is. Could be the obvious: Iran wanting to destroy Israel and needing the justification to launch an all-out war against Israel. Maybe. I've talked about that before. I think the reason why the October 7th attack was so brutal, and it was really brutal. Not only did they take the captives, the 242 captives, hostages, but gosh, these cats, go do something else right now. Go do something else. Not only did they do that, but they killed people in the most despicable and unspeakable of ways. Some of you know, some of you don't. Are you trying to have your time on camera? Do you have something? What's your opinion? What do you think the Houthis are doing? What do you think their plan is? So, I feel like it's pretty clear to me that they were trying to manipulate Israel into doing exactly what they're doing. Otherwise, I don't think it would have been so brutal. I don't think it would have been as big of an operation as it was, and as barbaric as it was. I think it was designed to force Israel to act, number one, and to gain into basically push Israel into a position where they would have to do something really dramatic in response. And I think that that's in order to give the justification for further escalation, to get everybody in on it. You have Iran that wants Israel destroyed, and you have other countries in the region that would probably prefer that Israel wasn't around. But you have to get as many people as possible on board. And so you have to push Israel to a point where they're doing things that are just unacceptable to everybody else, and get as much support worldwide, but especially in the Middle East, to join in and be like, yeah, you know what? Israel does need to be destroyed, or we need to invade, and we need to, we need to conduct war against Israel and then win it and then change the situation. So anyway, those are my thoughts. General conference, very interesting. You are like really starting to annoy me. Okay, I'm going to go over here. Let's go back over here. Let's go back over here to the pasture. So General Conference and all of our analysis that we've done with General Conference, if you haven't watched it already, I would encourage you to watch that video that I did about bookends to President Nelson's presidency, because I feel like we have seen some bookends take place. In this last General Conference, he brought something up that he brought up his very first address to the church about how we needed to begin with the ending in mind. He brought that up. I don't know if that was kind of like a bookend thing, the beginning of his presidency and the end. I don't know. We've talked about all these celestial events taking place, the asteroids. We've talked about the foxes on the Temple Mount. We've talked about the blue moons. Some of them, blue moons, super moons, and blood moons. Just go watch that video. If you don't know what I'm talking about, just look up bookends on my channel and you'll find it. So you have everything that's been taking place. Another one I just realized? Another bookend? I just realized this just now. You had Paradise, California, that was destroyed in 2018. I just realized this. Paradise, California was burnt down, almost completely destroyed in 2018. And this year, Lahaina was almost completely destroyed. That's another bookend event. Holy cow, I wish I would have realized that when I did that video. I might have to bring that up in another video. But anyway, so you just have all these like really interesting things taking place that seem to suggest that we're getting really close to the end. We can't forget what Sister Nelson said last year in October, after the October General Conference, in the British Columbia, Alberta area devotional, which is not available anymore. They broadcast it, and for a limited time, there was a link so that you can go and view it, but the link is no longer active. But during that devotional, she put several things up on the screen. And you know that when you put something up on the screen for your audience, it's something that you want to highlight. And so one of the things that she put up was something that their friends that had been serving in Malta said after the October 2022 General Conference. And they said, President Nelson, this General Conference was the very best. We felt like you just asked us to get on the ark. And I think that he did. Yeah, that was another thing. He called on us to be the people of the second coming in the October 2022 General Conference. Just like that. No other president of the church has done that. If they have, send it to me, but I have looked. It hasn't happened, as far as I know. So after he does that, she shares what their friend said, not just to be like, hey, guess what they said, but probably as a hint, no, really, time is up. It's time to get on the ark. That was also the conference that was also the devotional where she said that they knew that conference was going to be a singular event because of the sheer number of attacks on the church in the lead up to that conference. So she was really highlighting the importance of that conference. You know, oh yeah, there's the eclipses, the one in 2017, the one that just happened in October last month, and then there's the one that's coming up in 2024, the day after conference. I think it's April 8th. You know, another bookend. I feel like we're just like in this like red zone right now. I really do. Sometimes, there have been a few times, you know, as I've thought about this war, that I've just been like, you know what? It's probably still so far away. You know, I've sometimes you're tempted to think that way. But really, things happen very quickly. And I think it's going to hit us before we know. Whether that means us going to Adamondiaman, whether it means being caught up one day and meeting Christ in the clouds, whatever it means. I think that whenever the next thing happens, like the next big thing having to do with the second coming, I think it's going to hit us unexpectedly, and it's going to hit us hard. I hope that we're all ready for that. That's ultimately what we need to focus on, is making sure that we're worthy. They have your temple recommend, that you're worthy of your temple recommend, and then beyond that, that you're enduring, you know. You're doing your best to to progress and live the gospel. When it comes to the second coming, that's really, really what matters. Because you can know, you know, all these different prophecies, all these different quotes, but none of it matters if you don't move on into the next stage. And if you're living a telestial lifestyle right now. And beyond that, it seems like these incredible events, like being caught up and stuff like that, it seems to me, I could be wrong, that that's basically reserved for people that are living worthily. It's not just for like everybody, it's for the righteous members of the church that are worthy to be part of that event. I've been really impressed by, not like impressive, it's been crazy to see all these different flooding events take place these last couple months. I'm still trying my best to keep on top of it. I'll do what I can. But I feel like that by itself is enough to say that things are not normal right now, that we're getting into a really crazy phase in the history of the earth. Like seeing so much flooding in so many different places, and especially places where you don't typically see that kind of flooding. It's been going on for like a while now, but especially the last couple months. You know, the wildfires since 2004, so many places have had their largest wildfires, their worst wildfires, their deadliest wildfires. It's just like, it's pretty clear that the signs are all around us, and it does seem like they're intensifying. I'm actually working on a video right now where, in addition to earthquakes and floods and hurricanes and these different disasters that I'm tracking, I want to start tracking these like plant explosions, you know, chemical plants. There's one that I'm looking at right now that's like a food recycling plant that exploded in the UK. There's been explosions in Russia at basically facilities that support the Russian military, whether it's with ammunition or optical equipment and stuff like that. So I want to try and track all these, and I've actually wanted to do that ever since the East Palestine train derailment, because that was such a dramatic looking event. Do you remember that? I can't even remember. I think that was at the beginning of this year. I'm going to find out when I go inside, because I'm going to add that to this next video that I'm working on. But I have the feeling that these kind of things are increasing, these plant explosions. By the way, if you're wondering about these gaps in the picket fence, it's because of this stupid steer that I had, that even though we have this welded wire right here, he would still poke his head over here far enough, because he was trying to get grass over here, and it would knock the pickets down. And so we're in the process right now of gluing them back on. It's been slow, but we're doing it. Anyway, so when that happened, I thought it was pretty strange, and it was really dramatic, just like all the black smoke that there was. And I feel like I keep seeing just these different plant explosions. The thing that prompted me to do this next video about the explosions is there was a new one. There's a new one today in Shepherd, Texas. Oh, I can't remember what kind of plant it was. So, you have these articles and they'll say, oh, this was due to this was due to that. Or sometimes they don't give an explanation. But I have to wonder if maybe some of this is, the asymmetric warfare that we've talked about on the channel. How hard is it if you have directed energy weapons, if you have satellites that have directed energy capabilities, how hard is it to attack undefended, chemical plants, power plants, whatever? On top of that, in war, there's this really handy thing called espionage and sabotage. And how hard is it to have your people in the other country go and attack these vulnerable sites? I don't think it's too hard. And so, while undoubtedly some of them are, mishaps or accidents or, failures of equipment or safety protocol or whatever, with as much as it's happening, I have to question if some of it isn't due to the asymmetric warfare. I feel like it's taking place with the weather, and I have reason to believe that. Just watch my past videos where I've talked about directed energy weapons and satellites and stuff like that. We have the color revolutions that have been taking place. And then, yeah, why not take out plants and infrastructure, cause train derailments? It's easy. So I'm going to do my very best to try and track down as many of these incidents as I can, put them on my spreadsheet, put them on Google Earth so that we can visualize them, and just see if we notice any patterns. Notice if we see any patterns. And frankly, I feel like that we already have. I actually talked about this when Lahaina was the big story, because first you have Lahaina that was almost completely destroyed by fire. Very unlikely. It took everybody by surprise. Hawaii is not a place that you think of when it comes to wildfires. and disasters like that, and yet it happened. So the United States got hit in Lahaina, and then the very next day, there was a massive explosion in Russia at a plant that they claim used to make military equipment, like optical equipment for like, I think for like night vision goggles and that type of thing. Probably other things too. But yeah, that got hit. It was a massive, massive explosion. And I'll show it to you in the next video. It was unbelievable. So first the US gets hit, and then Russia gets hit the next day within 24 hours. I don't know. It could be coincidence. We've already looked at all these like flash flooding events, and they're mostly happening in countries that are in competition with one another. The eastern countries, well, you can think of it either as, you can think of it as BRICS, you know, Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa. They have the BRICS economic, whatever you, cooperation, whatever you call that, forum. You know, it's like the equivalent or like a competing forum to the like G7 and G20 and stuff like that. So you've had a bunch of those countries be hit with flash flooding, and then you also have ones in the West, and then there these other like non-player countries. You don't really see it. Magically, most of these flash flooding events are in these countries that are competing with each other. So I want to see if we see the same thing with these explosions. And I think that is what we're going to see. I feel like I already do see it. So the world's getting really chaotic. I don't know, but it seems like as far as Satan and him having his time and his great, you know, success. Oh, my wife and daughter are back home. So, what was I just about to? Oh yeah, I also think about it like this. Satan seems to have had his greatest success in 2020 as far as completely stopping temple work throughout the whole world for a time, and then hindering missionary work. If you're Satan, that was a really, really good year. You know, you accomplished a lot of your goals in that year in 2020. And, you know, maybe he can do more, but I feel like that was kind of like a climax for him. I tend to think that that was the half hour of silence referred to in the scriptures. I could be wrong. But it was a time when essentially the church was almost like completely shut down. And now that time is essentially over. Things are resuming. And now we have all these bookends, it would seem, to President Nelson's presidency. And the cherry on top is the war that's happening in Israel. From what I've seen and what I've heard, the IDF is progressing really well into Gaza. They have Gaza City surrounded, and they're pushing toward the hospital, which is the main command center for Hamas. And so I would have thought that Iran or Hezbollah would have joined by now, because for a long time we were waiting for the ground invasion to begin. But you know, it started, and they made threats and stuff like that, but nothing happened. And so you have these analysts and experts saying, well, you know, they weren't ready for this. Hamas was acting alone, and they realized that they would pay too heavy of a price if they tried to do something about it. Which, again, I'm not sure. I don't think that that's the case, because that wasn't the case with Hamas. And I do believe that Hamas let them know what they were going to do. I could be wrong, but I think they did let Iran and Hezbollah and the rest of them know what they were going to do. So it may just be For all I know, that they're waiting for Hamas to be completely destroyed, and then they feel that they'll have all the justification to go all out on Israel. So we have to watch it. But it seems like pretty soon here, I would imagine within a week. I feel like even that's kind of far out, but I feel like within a week they'll probably take out that command center underneath the hospital. And then after that, I don't know. There's like, right now they're calling for a ceasefire so that there can be an exchange of hostages, or so that hostages can be released. And all the countries of the world keep calling for a ceasefire, but I don't think that Israel's going to do that. So tensions are just getting more and more and more wound up. And at some point, something's going to break, I think. I wouldn't be surprised if as soon as they declared that they've, cleared the northern part of the Gaza Strip, that Hezbollah joins in, or maybe even Iran. And if this is part of like a much bigger plan, there could be other phases, other things that have already been thought through that they're waiting to implement. So as far as anybody knows, maybe this is all according to their plan. I don't know. We'll just have to wait and see. But anyway, we're getting toward the end of the year. We only have a little over a month and a half left before 2023 is over. A lot of people were looking at 2024 anyway, so I guess now I'm starting to. Although I'm not going to put any limitations on what could happen. I think that things could still, like interesting things, like second coming things could happen before the end of the year. But I don't know. I was going to say something. I can't remember what I was going to say. If that whole thing with the 1,290 days, if that ends up being correct, like if that was correct, then it's later this month. I can't remember what day. I want to say it was like the 21st, that the 1,335 days would be up. I'm not holding my breath for that at all, but that's something to look at. We have Christmas coming up, and you might remember I did a bunch of Christmas videos last year, talking about the potential timing of the second coming if Christ chose either Christmas itself, or if he chose winter solstice, because of what it represents when it comes to the sun and the starting of a new year, as far as like the days starting to get longer. We've talked about Dan, the tribe of Dan, which in Judaism they associate Dan with winter. Sorry, my daughter called, so I had to answer. Just really quick, see, we have the things, they've just been knocked out either by kids or other things, and we're in the process of replacing them. But anyway, Dan is associated with winter, and I don't know, maybe I'll do another video about it, about winter and winter solstice and all that stuff in Dan. But Dan is associated with judgment, and so, who knows? Anyway, there's just like, we're getting toward the end of the year, and there's all these different times and dates that things could happen, and we'll just have to wait and see. The other thing, the other thing to think about is the whole idea of not seeing a rainbow the year that the second coming happens. And so we've looked into that, done videos about it. Different people have suggested different things about it, like, oh, maybe that's already happened. Maybe there was a year where there wasn't a rainbow, or maybe it's only referring to a certain location. Maybe it's only referring to the president of the church. Maybe. Who knows? If it does apply to like the entire world, like nobody in the entire world can see a rainbow the year of the second coming, then who knows? Maybe the second coming is going to be January 1st or 2nd or 3rd or that first week. Other people think that no, it's going to be because there's going to be a huge global catastrophe. A super volcano is going to go off. There's going to be like a nuclear winter because of nuclear war, and so we're not going to see the sun. I don't tend to think that that's right. I feel like that would be too obvious, and people would not be caught off guard. Christ wouldn't come as a thief in the night if it was like that crazy, but I don't know. But as we're thinking about the new year, that's another thing to think about, is if he comes like on January 1st, 2nd, or 3rd or something like that. And therefore, for those few days, there's not anywhere in the world that sees a rainbow. Anyway. And then we have that general conference in April. And then immediately after that, we have that second eclipse. The first eclipse, I don't like this. I don't like it over here. Let me go back to where I was. So the first eclipse in 2017, that came just before President Nelson became president of the church. It preceded him by a few months. And then the one in October that just happened, it happened at this time when the war starts. So for all we know, the October eclipse is related to the war. If I remember right, the eclipse happened on the 14th, which was just exactly a week after the war started. And so if you think about it that way, if the 2017 eclipse was associated with President Nelson, the October eclipse was associated with the war, then there could be something big that goes along with the 2024 eclipse. Either before or after, who knows? But I would like to know what you guys think in the comments below. Some of you feel like there's a certain group of people that think that it's not going to be until the 30s because that would correspond to the 2,000 years since Christ's mortal ministry when it ended. So like 2033 would be 2,000 years after he died. Which, that could be. I tend to think that that's too long, but it could be. But let me know if you feel the same way. If you think that we're in the red zone, if things are going to change really fast and we're going to find ourselves in that situation where Christ is coming to the Mount of Olives. Oh, the other thing, now that I just said that, I can't stress enough how important I think it is that there was a Mount of Olives in Turkey that split into two this year. If that's not a sign, I don't know what is. That happened after the General Conference where President Nelson called on us to be the people of the second coming. He calls on the church to be the people of the second coming. He also references the sign of the Son of Man. And he also says that we're going to see the greatest manifestations of the Savior's power that the world has ever seen. It was an incredible General Conference. And then just a few months after that, in February of 2023, that's when there was the big earthquake in Turkey, and the Turkish Mount of Olives split into two. So we're just like getting really big, very explicit, serious signs. These are all the reasons why I think that it's sooner than later. Okay. I think I'll probably end at this point. It's starting to get dark. I'm starting to get a little bit cold. So I'm going to go inside and warm up. But let me know all your thoughts in the comments below. If you haven't already, please make sure to subscribe, Like this video if you liked it. Make sure to share it, and I'll talk to you guys later.